handed out $450 million in bonuses to its executives. And not just any executives. The bigwigs at the very unit responsible for the near collapse of AIG. In fact, AIG would have collapsed had it not been for your taxpayer dollars. Well, now AIG, under pressure from the administration, is saying it has no choice but to give those bonuses out because it's contractually obligated. And the administration is not happy. California Congressman and ranking member of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Darrell Issa, is not happy either. He's my guest this morning. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Megan. And no, I'm not happy, but I realize that when you do it wrong to begin with, these kind of consequences happen. We threw money at a problem rather than making the problem come to us as the lender of last resort.
And we didn't attach enough strings to it. Isn't that a fact?
Absolutely. You know, normally when somebody comes out of money, desperate with no ability to get money, they are either willing to file bankruptcy or to voluntarily forego a number of contractual obligations. Those same executives could have been let go, or they would have waived their rights to get this in return for the money. But in fact, what we did was we too quickly provided the TARP money and then threw it at them with no strings attached, adding the strings only later. That's the reason we're in the situation we're in now. We have to stop doing that. The next dollar going to AIG has to have strings attached, which is if these people want to keep their company, they're going to have to forego some of the perks of office.
And so, you know, now over the weekend and late last week, there was a bit of a game of chicken going on between the Treasury Secretary, Tim Geithner, and the CEO of AIG, this guy, Edward Liddy, who I should point out for the viewers was tapped by Henry Paulson, the old Treasury Secretary, to take over the company and try to right the ship. He's not the guy who was at the helm when it went down. Okay, but anyway, Geithner said to Liddy that you can't do this. You can't be forking out these bonuses. And Liddy said to him, look, we have contracts. We hired outside counsel. Outside counsel says we have to pay on these contracts. Otherwise, we're going to get sued. And then the president's top economic advisor, Lawrence Summers, said on one of the Sunday shows yesterday, well, take a listen. Listen to what he said.
We are a country of law. There are contracts. The government cannot just abrogate contracts.
Congressman, that is true, is it not? I mean, can the government do anything at this point?
Well, it's true, but it's convenient talk. First of all, people can be told that if they won't convert their existing look-back contracts into go-forward contracts, ones that say we'll give you a future bonus if you turn the company around, then they can be given their past contracts and thanked, and we can say goodbye to them. So there are a lot of ways to renegotiate contracts, recognizing contract sanctity is important. But remember, we got to this situation because under two administrations and two Treasury secretaries, they threw money at AIG, telling them to just take care of the crisis and we'll work out the details later. These are the details later.
Is there any chance, all right, first let me ask you this, because now everybody's saying we honor contracts, you can't abrogate contracts. Try telling that to the United Auto Workers Union. Because before we bailed out, GM and Chrysler, we went to them and said, you better do something about those onerous contracts you're under, because why would we keep throwing good money after bad? Why couldn't the same thing have been done with AIG? Why can't it be done now, saying, if you get one more dollar of our taxpayer dollars, it's not going to go for bonuses?
Well, Megan, you're exactly right. What we had to say to the auto companies was give us a plan going forward that shows you can be viable, which included labor concessions. We have to say the same thing to AIG, which is we've sunk far more money into you than you're worth. There would be no bonuses. There'd be no money. You'd be in a bankruptcy mode,
right,
one in which those contracts would be negated.
Right.
And, that's the whole point is those contracts come behind the general credit or the preferred creditors. And as a result, there would be no money for them if it wasn't federal money. The next dollar has to say you can't have monies that otherwise would not be available to fulfill contracts. If that means they file a form of bankruptcy in order to reorganize, so be it. Chapter 11 should not be scary when you have the size of the money that's being poured in by the federal government. There's never been debtor-in-possession financing equal to what we've given AIG.
It's really incredible that we didn't require that. I mean, that we didn't say to them, look, because the thing is, these executives are going to get these bonuses, the $450 million in bonuses, only because we helped them. If we had not helped them, AIG would be not only would they not be getting bonuses, they'd be out of a job. The hubris for the executives to now try to hold AIG and its CEO, who, by the way, is making, I think, $1 a year, to these contracts, which they know They know the company couldn't honor if it weren't for our taxpayer dollars. Middle America's paying this taxpayer dollar. A lot of these middle Americans who have been laid off are now funding these bonuses. I mean, that we watch and we think, this is insane. What can be done, Congressman? What can be done to stop the $450 million? Anything?
Well, you know, over the weekend, all of my Twitter friends have been saying, get our money back. Well, the fact is, you can't get the money back, but you can stop putting it out. The next dollar from the federal government can require either that, A, they renegotiate these contracts, or B, they do what they should do, which is file bankruptcy, void those contracts, and if that's what it takes for them to get another dollar from the American taxpayers, so be it. You know, the union workers at GM, Ford, and Chrysler are taking concessions, whether we agree or disagree. They're taking concessions to make their companies viable. AIG has to be willing to have all of its executives, particularly the highly compensated, willing to make concessions if they want to keep jobs that have been very good to them, for the most part, for a very long time.
I got to go, but I want to ask you, we've given them almost $180 billion of taxpayer monies. The last amount of it, that last 30, I don't know if it's been paid to AIG yet. I'm told it hasn't. Could we stop that? Could we attach conditions to that?
Absolutely. We can, and the federal government can at any given time say we've given up, file bankruptcy, and that would include this last $30 billion, which would allow them to, quite candidly, relook at these contracts, say to their executives. But remember, Megan, what we have here is we have an old boys club where they're much smarter at talking about stockholders' value and returns. These folks have learned how to work the system for incredibly high pay for a long time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we in the government, for the most part, don't come with that kind of skill set or even understand it. We need to make sure we have smart people at the table negotiating on the behalf of the taxpayers. Right now, under 2 presidents and 2 Treasury secretaries, it doesn't look like we have smart enough people to outsmart the very people who squandered billions of our money.
Congressman Issa, thanks for being here. We appreciate you watching it. All the best to you.
Thanks for making such a point of it. Take care.
You bet.
And that's why you got tea parties like the one we're going to show you next hour popping up all over the country.
Right.
They're doing it on their own, by the way.
You know, Bill, it's one thing if it's executives of a group. You know, part of AIG has been profitable. Part of that company has been a success.